Came across this really interesting study from Upwork that was talking about the how are things going with the addition of AI into the workforce and what's it doing for employees? Is it making them happier? Is it making them better? Is it making them more effective? And what it's finding is that AI is adding tremendous workload and burnout to people right now. So I wanted to talk about this one because I actually dug into the report, looked at all the details of it. So I'll give you a little context to what the report was. It was a study that was done by Upwork, which, if you're not familiar with Upwork, it's a company that specializes in gig work. If you're somebody who's a, I don't know, graphic designer or whatever you are, you can go on Upwork and you can get gigs where people go, we aren't going to hire a full-time employee, but we need somebody to come in and do a specific project. And it's a pretty quick, efficient way to bring somebody on board really quick, have them do a specific task and move forward. And several years ago, there was a lot of talk about the gig economy that has since bubbled down a little bit. But that's what the company is. And so one of the things that, as I was looking at the report, I'm always curious when research comes out, because it's always like, okay, what is the bias that this organization that funded and created the research? And as you can imagine, Upwork, that's in the business of gig economy and gig work, it's very clear the report is biased towards, hey, this is why you should hire more freelancers and why this is a really important thing. So I think we have to take that into consideration. And just always remember, whenever you read a study or any sort of data, it is never fully objective. It's not just this is just the facts. There's always a bend to, well, what is the group that's putting this out trying to convince? And this is no exception. And that came through very clearly in the research. But what I thought was interesting is the workload and the burnout part actually wasn't as influenced by this bias, because it actually was an interesting kind of anomaly that they found through the research. So the research was 25, I mean, it was a decent sized study, 2,500 workers across the globe, 1,250 C-suite execs. There was a mix of 625 full-time employees and 625 freelancers. So kind of this contrast of senior leadership and then employees both on the freelance and on the full-time side. And what it found was, here's some of the biggest findings, and I'll talk about kind of my take on all of this, was it's no surprise to me. And if you read any of the headlines and even just the conversations I'm in, the study found 90% of C-suite execs have high expectations for AI to boost their productivity. So there are, and I think we are very much in this bubble right now where people's vision of what AI is going to do is a little over, not necessarily even a lot overinflated. There's this idea that just magically by adding AI, you're going to produce better results. And that came out in the data. I mean, 81% of those senior leaders said, yeah, we've increased our expectations on employees. And I'd be really interested, just even based on some of my advisory and coaching work that I've done. It's really interesting when you start to see like, whoa, sometimes the expectations are very realistic. And you're like, okay, I mean, it's reasonable to expect you'd see some kind of gains. And other times you're like, wait, you thought that by adding Gen AI to this, like you were going to move from here to here. And so it didn't get into the detail on, well, like how much are companies and executives increasing their demand based on what they believe AI can. But it's, I mean, 4 out of 5 are saying, yeah, I'm expecting more from my employees because now we have access to this technology, which isn't completely unreasonable. I don't think it's completely unreasonable so long as those expectations are realistic and, you're doing some of the other things. But the sad part in this whole thing was, and I think this is a message to any leader or anyone who's considering, hey, we hope to be getting more out of generative AI. Only 25% of the leaders and the employees who were surveyed, only 25% said there was any available training on how they were to use this technology. So most people have just been kind of told, hey, you've got this Gen AI thing, so be more productive. And I can just tell you from spending a whole career in human performance and development, you don't just hand people things and they figure it out. I mean, some might, but it's a very painful, inefficient broken process. And so the fact that a lot of orgs are going, we expect more out of you now. Here's this thing. Now go be productive with literally zero support. I mean, it's no surprise that people are not finding what they were expecting out of it. I think the other part that was really sad that just goes, this is only 13% of the organization said they even had any sort of strategy for achieving the gain, which to me speaks to one of the biggest problems I see when it comes to AI is companies go, we're going to do the AI thing and it's going to make us better. And when you go, how? Like, what are you planning on doing? Like, where are you going to use it? Where are you going to apply it? What do you see it changing? Most people kind of go, what? Well, we're going to add AI. That's what I said. And it's like, that's not a strategy. A strategy is not saying we're going to use AI to become more productive. A strategy for using AI is we've evaluated our operations. We've identified these as some of the biggest risks. We've identified that, these are the scalability problems and it is a scale problem that it can be easily automated. It's well documented. So we know what we're doing. We have training data to be able to create AI that can support that. And so as a result, we're going to do this. We believe we can, like, that's a strategy. And the fact that only 13% had any real strategy. And again, it didn't get into, so I'd be curious. I'd love to see the 13% who said, yeah, we have a strategy. I'd love to see where they are. The fact that 87% said, yeah, we don't really have any of that. Okay, of that then, of the 13, that 13%, like, I'd love to see the strategy. What is your strategy? Because like I said, if it's like, yeah, we have a strategy. See, it says implement AI in operations and manufacturing. See, I'd go, that's not a strategy. So I would have a sneaking suspicion because these things follow very similar trends. And I've seen data on this related to like skills in organizations, and companies recognize they need to do something about skills, similar to companies recognize they need to do stuff about Gen AI. And so then you dig into, well, how many of you have any sort of upskilling programs? Oh, what do you know? It usually is very similar, like 25%. Well, how many of you have real strategies for what you're going to do about those skill gaps? It's usually low double digits or single digits, about right. If you then cut even deeper into it and go, how many of these are actual effective strategies that outline the key things? Usually it's in the low single digits. So this is concerning because when you then look at it and go, it's no wonder 77% of employees feel that their workload is increasing because they've just been handed a new thing. They are not being trained on how to use it. There's no real clear path for what they're supposed to do with it, but they know they're supposed to do it and they're probably being held accountable. Hey, you need to be doing AI because we have a strategy that says use AI. So did you do that? And people are going, I don't know what to do with it. Like, how do I do it? Do you have any strategy for what we're supposed to do? No, just do it. So is it any surprise that 4 out of 5 are going like I am? And I'm curious, feel free to message me. I always am interested to hear from folks. Where do you sit in that? I'm actually really like, are you one of those folks who goes, yeah, I feel this existential pressure that I'm supposed to do more, but I'm just trying to keep up with what I'm doing. And now I've got this layered on top of me that's actually making me feel more stressed out, more burned out, because 71% feel burned out. So 77 said, hey, our workload's increasing, not reducing. 71% said they're feeling burned out. So only 6% of people said, yeah, the workload's increasing, but I feel good about it. So, I mean, we're talking single digits here of people going, I feel it's going up, but it's okay because I'm handling this well and it's all right and we're doing all right. And 65% we're still struggling with even what they're doing today. Never mind all this AI stuff. They're like, I can't even figure out how to deal with what's on my plate. Now I'm getting this stacked on top of me. This is concerning. And I'm not surprised one bit. I will tell you, I was not surprised one bit as I dug into this. And like I said, if anything, I think I would be curious to dig even deeper into this. And this is where I'd love to hear from people. Like, what's your experience? Does this resonate with you or the people you talk with and interact with? Are they feeling similar? Are you feeling this way where you're like, good grief, like now I just feel like I have more to do and I have higher expectations. I'm not even sure what to do, because it's concerning. And we were already at a critical tipping point where people were just on the verge of collapse. And I think there was a lot of this promise that AI will be the infusion that you need to feel like you have your life back. And the data's showing, no, it's not. And like I said, I'm not surprised because I think there are some key things that when I work with people that we go through that's like, this is how you actually make sure this mitigates this problem, not exacerbates it. And since this is a one time study, I don't know that they have anything to compare it with, but I actually wouldn't be surprised if it's gotten worse because we are in this stage where people don't really know what they're doing with this and it's causing major problems. One of the things coming out of the study that I agree with is that there's a need to look at new work models. But again, I didn't necessarily like the recommendation because it very felt biased towards, you know, what'll fix this? Gig economy, gig workers. Because it had some points in there that gig workers are, you know, handling the change better, which in some ways doesn't surprise me. They kind of have no choice. If you're a gig worker, you're like, I'm just figuring out what to do and trying to find the most efficient way to do it. And I don't have the bureaucracy of the company telling me what tools I can and can't use and all this other stuff. So it doesn't surprise me gig workers are doing it. I think, yes, maybe the way work models are happening needs to be reevaluated, but that's not just because of AI. It needs to happen because of work locale. It needs to happen for a lot of different reasons. But honestly, I think we need to really put a watch on this. And for senior leaders out there, first of all, one, you need to temper your expectations. Two, you need to put things in place to actually help make this transition. This is not a switch flip that you turn on that magically fixes this. And I am telling you right now, if you get this wrong, it is going to make your problems way, way worse. And I think back, I said a couple years ago, I'm like, if we get this wrong, we're going to end up in a worse position than we're in today. And this study really is starting to validate a lot of that. And so I'm concerned about it. I'm legitimately concerned about it. It's why I do a lot of the stuff I do. And gosh, if there's ways I can help, please let me know, because I really think I've seen where it goes well. And I can tell you, there's a way where doing AI right will actually dramatically improve these statistics. But right now, that is not the majority of what's happening. And that is call for concern, especially when we take into account some other factors that are also making worse the work world. Okay, I'll end there. The last one that I'll talk about today is another crisis. I shouldn't laugh about crises because I get it's a lot and people are struggling and there's just a lot going on. But I just feel like every headline is this is a crisis, it's an existential threat. And it's just leading to people being like, I don't even care anymore. Like everything is out to kill me and out to get me and going to be the end of the world as we know it. And even to my point before, like there's a way you can do this right, but you got to slow down, take the time and bring people along who actually can help you do that.